Hello, welcome back. Today we'll delve into the world of the toughest prisons on the planet. Imagine places where conditions are so harsh that even the hardest criminals feel powerless. We'll talk about inhumane conditions, notorious inmates, uprisings, whether anyone has managed to escape, and the punishments applied to inmates. Get ready for chilling stories that will take you into the dark corners of justice. Let's get started. Number 10. ADX Florence, Colorado, USA. Kicking off in sunny Colorado, we have ADX Florence, also known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies. This federal supermax prison is designed to keep the most dangerous criminals in maximum isolation. Inmates spend 23 hours a day in small concrete cells with minimal human contact. For their 1 hour of outdoor exercise, they're taken to concrete yards where the sky is visible only through a tiny opening. A notorious resident here was Ted Kaczynski, aka the Unabomber, who served time for his bombing attacks before his death in 2023. Yes, you can end up here if you've committed serious federal crimes such as terrorism, espionage, or other high-profile offenses that make you a danger to society. ADX Florence is renowned for its security, and no one has ever successfully escaped. Prison breaks are virtually impossible due to the extreme security measures and isolation. Riots are also rare because inmates are mostly isolated from each other, minimizing the possibility of coordination. Punishments at ADX Florence are severe. Inmates can receive extended periods of solitary confinement, often for months or even years, for infractions such as violence against guards or other inmates, possession of contraband, or attempting to communicate with other inmates. Additional punishments include the loss of privileges such as phone calls, commissary access, and recreation time. In extreme cases, inmates may be placed on restricted diets or subjected to additional restraints during movements. Despite the harsh conditions, it's not all bad if you enjoy solitude and never want to see a sunset again. Given these points, we've placed this prison at number 10 on our list. Imagine a place where the line between life and mere survival blurs. A place where humanity fades, replaced by a raw struggle to stay alive. Welcome to La Sabaneta, the worst prison in the world, located in Maracaibo, Venezuela. La Sabaneta was originally designed to hold 700 inmates, but it now houses more than 3,700. The overcrowding is so extreme that prisoners often have to sleep in shifts or find any available corner to lie down. This home for prisoners is so packed that even mosquitoes struggle to find a landing spot, let alone the people inside. Every day in La Sabaneta is a battle for survival. Violence among inmates is rampant. Weapons are easily accessible, and various factions constantly vie for power. The guards, if you can call them that, often just watch or are directly involved in corruption, making the situation even worse. In 1994, one of the worst riots occurred, with over 100 inmates killed in a single night. This place is a jungle, where the law of the strongest prevails. If you expect that food and water are at least basic necessities provided, you'd be very wrong. The food supply is extremely limited, the quality is terrible, and water is often unavailable. Prisoners frequently have to fight for every drop, and those with money can secure better conditions, while the poor suffer even more. Healthcare? Forget about it. Diseases and injuries are common, but if someone falls ill or is injured, they have little chance of receiving proper treatment. Epidemics are frequent, and mortality rates are high. And as if that weren't enough, the guards at La Sabaneta are not just passive observers. When they decide to intervene, their methods are often brutal and merciless. Punishments from the guards include physical beatings, torture, and long periods of solitary confinement under inhumane conditions. In solitary, prisoners are left in complete darkness, without food or water for long hours, further increasing their suffering. The guards often operate with impunity, and there is no oversight of their actions, meaning violence against prisoners is practically without consequence. To make matters worse, corruption is rampant in La Sabaneta. If you have money, you can buy better conditions. If not, you are at the mercy of other inmates and guards. Every day is a battle, not just physically, but mentally as well. So if you think you're having a bad day, consider the prisoners in La Sabaneta, who face this hell on earth every single day. La Sabaneta isn't just the worst prison in the world. It's a place where humanity recedes, leaving behind a brutal instinct for survival. This prison is rightfully considered the worst in the world because life here is a constant struggle to survive under the most extreme conditions imaginable. So why did we pick La Sabaneta for this fantastic 9th place on our list? Well, it's simple. Between the overcrowding, the daily dose of life-threatening violence, and the gourmet selection of barely edible meals, it's hard to resist the charm of this place. And let's not forget the wellness solitary confinement, perfect for those who enjoy long, uninterrupted periods of darkness and introspection. Of course, it might not be for everyone, but we're sure there's someone out there who loves the thrill of dodging danger at every corner. Maybe you're a fan of extreme survival challenges, or perhaps you just really like mosquitoes. Whatever your reason, La Sabaneta has it all, and that's why it deserves the 9th place on our list of the worst prisons in the world. So, who's packing their bags? 8. Black Dolphin Prison, Russia. Ladies and gentlemen, now we move to Russia, specifically to the banks of the Ural River, where lies a prison with a name you'd expect more from an underwater adventure park. Black Dolphin Prison. But don't worry, there's no game of who jumps into the water first. Here, it's all about survival. Imagine a place where not even your own thoughts are safe from constant surveillance. This prison is one of the toughest facilities in Russia, keeping the most dangerous criminals under such scrutiny that even the beer you drank last night would feel less watched. At Black Dolphin, prisoners spend 23 hours a day in cells with minimal light and no contact with other inmates. And when they do get outside for a walk, they march through the yard with their heads down to ensure they don't accidentally see what's beyond the prison walls. Escape? Forget about it. Every move, every turn of the head is carefully monitored. The guards are so well trained that they can detect an escape attempt before the prisoner has even thought about it. They say that if you want to get out of this prison, you'd first need to learn how to walk through walls. Punishments? Oh, get ready. Black Dolphin has a special menu of punishments for those who want to test the patience of the staff. First, there's extended solitary confinement in total darkness, where even your own thoughts start to feel like unwanted guests. Then there are the bonus activities, like wearing shackles and chains even while sleeping. And forget about chairs or comfort. Most prisoners sit on the bare ground or small metal benches that would destroy your spine, even on your best days. And what are the most brutal punishments here? Well, if you ever try to be a little rebellious or show even a hint of defiance, be prepared for the worst. The guards have free rein, and their methods can be very brutal. Sometimes, they might force you to stand still for hours without moving, or cut your food rations to the bare minimum needed to survive. If you try to resist, expect endless days in a cell without light, where you're left alone with your thoughts and absolute darkness. And if that still isn't enough, they might chain you to the bed for so long that you feel like you're losing your mind. Escapes? Forget it. Black Dolphin is a fortress from which no one has ever managed to escape. Not a single escape attempt in the history of this prison has been successful. With constant surveillance, double doors that never open at the same time, and guards ready to act instantly, escaping is more myth than reality. Even the harsh Russian winter isn't the biggest threat here. It's surviving each day just to face another. So why did Black Dolphin make it to the 8th spot? Because if you love drama without the spotlight and crave every step reminding you there's no way back, then Black Dolphin is your place. But if you prefer locations with at least a hint of freedom, you might want to consider other vacation destinations. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Black Dolphin Prison, where dreams evaporate faster than Russian vodka on ice. And if you have the courage or the madness, this prison is waiting for you. But remember, a one-way ticket is always guaranteed. Ladies and gentlemen, let's head to North Korea, where we find one of the most terrifying places you can imagine, Camp 22. Forget any notions of a summer camp with bonfires and marshmallows. because this place is anything but a friendly getaway into nature. Camp 22 is a labor camp with a deep history and an even deeper sense of brutality. Prisoners here work in mines and fields from dawn till dusk, regardless of whether it's scorching hot, freezing cold, or a snowstorm is raging. If you thought gardening was tough, this place will show you what real hell is. Instead of relaxation and rest, you'll find only hard ground to sleep on, constant hunger, and if you're lucky, maybe a piece of stale rice. Escapes? Well, if you have wings. Camp 22 is surrounded by electric fences, guard towers, and minefields. Guards are trained to spot even the slightest hint of escape. And trust me, they don't have a sense of humor about it. If you decide to try your luck, you'll likely end up underground faster than you can say freedom. And punishments? Oh, that's a whole different story. If you decide you need a break from the grueling work pace, get ready for the harshest forms of punishment. Breaking discipline or just slowing down can mean beatings, starvation, or worse, solitary confinement, where you're assigned a spot so dark even the sun doesn't shine. And if you're caught attempting to escape or even whispering that life outside might be better, expect torture scenes that would make the scariest horror films look tame. To make matters worse, Camp 22 operates on the principle of collective punishment. So if you've ended up on the wrong side of the regime, you won't be alone. Your family members, parents, children, siblings will join you. Yes, a family trip to Camp 22 isn't just a metaphor, it's a real threat. Your mistakes can condemn future generations to life in the camp. It's family fun in the worst possible sense. Why is Camp 22 in 7th place? Because if you enjoy group activities that demand absolute obedience and the idea of your family sharing every one of your mistakes, Camp 22 is perfect for you. But if you prefer places where there's at least some chance of change, or let's say where you can actually see the sun, you might want to consider other less depressing destinations. So, welcome to Camp 22, where dreams disappear faster than under the light of a North Korean spotlight. And remember, there's no leaving with a postcard goodbye, just a lifelong reminder that freedom is something you'll never see again. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for a trip to sunny California, where the sun doesn't shine on everyone. Welcome to San Quentin, one of the oldest and most feared prisons in the United States. This prison is as old as Wild West tales and just as rough. San Quentin is where the past meets the present, but definitely not in a way you'd enjoy. Home to notorious criminals, from the worst serial killers to those who simply made the wrong choices at the wrong time. And if you think the yard is a place for sports and sunbathing, imagine taking a stroll with the biggest muscle-bound inmates who won't give you a second chance if you slip up. Punishments in San Quentin? Oh, they've got plenty for you to choose from. If you're playing the rebel, prepare for a few extra days in solitary confinement, where your only company will be your shadow and the sound of dripping water reminding you of every second of your stay. Radios, TVs, or any other distractions? Forget it. In San Quentin, fun equals counting cracks on the wall. Escapes? Well, it's more about running to heaven than running from prison. San Quentin has a tight security system, with armed guards who don't even smile at your jokes, and walls as high as your fears. Escaping is so tough that even Houdini would break a sweat trying. The harshest punishments? Well, if someone here decides that rules are meant to be broken, they face special conditions in solitary. It's not just about small cells and lousy food. It's about being cut off from any contact, even from the sight of the sky. No windows, no views, just you and your thoughts to keep you company for days, weeks, months. You get the idea. San Quentin isn't a stroll in the park when it comes to safety among inmates either. Every day can turn into a fight for survival and a tour of tattoos that tell stories darker than the night sky. Gang rules, tense relationships, and constant threats mean you never know who's going to end up in trouble next. So why is San Quentin in 6th place? Because if you love history, muscle-bound inmates, and harsh punishments with a distant view of the Golden Gate Bridge, then you're in the right place. But if you prefer, let's say, beach activities and a bit of freedom, we suggest exploring other parts of California. So welcome to San Quentin, where even the smallest mistake could be your last. and where sunny California is just another joke behind prison walls. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for a scorching trip to the heart of Africa, specifically Rwanda, home to one of the most terrifying places on earth, Gitarama Central Prison. If you thought crowded buses were bad, wait until you hear about this place. Gitarama was originally designed for about 400 inmates, but today it's crammed with over 7,000 souls, literally fighting for every inch of space. The prisoners are packed like sardines in a can, and as for a place to sleep, forget about mattresses or even a hard floor. Here, people often sleep standing up, and if you're lucky, you might get a piece of the wall to lean against. Punishments in Gitarama? Since the prison is so overcrowded, inmates end up punishing each other. In this human jungle, daily battles for survival are common, where the strongest are those who make it through another day. Fights over food, water, or just a place to stand are everyday occurrences and often end in bloodshed. Rules don't exist here, and if you can't find your place in this chaos, you might end up as someone else's doormat. The worst punishments? In Gitarama, you get to enjoy the special delight of untreated diseases and injuries. If you fall ill or get hurt, don't expect much in terms of medical care. Sometimes your best hope is that other inmates take care of you. And trust me, their version of care is not something you'd want to experience. Escapes? Well, if you're willing to swim through a sea of bodies and risk being trampled, then you've got a slim chance. The prison is surrounded by high walls and guards with more ammunition than patients. Inmates often don't try to escape, but rather just aim to survive another day without being stabbed or succumbing to illness. Gitarama is like a living horror movie that never ends. Every day is a challenge where survival becomes the only goal. Water, food, and basic human rights are just distant dreams here. If you think you've had a bad day, the inmates at Gitarama could tell you a thing or two about what that really means. So why did Gitarama Central Prison earn the 5th spot? Because if you're looking for a place where even the air is filled with fear and survival is a luxury, you've come to the right place. But if you prefer a little personal space and hygiene, you might want to explore other accommodations. Welcome to Gitarama Central Prison, where even the worst nightmares feel like a walk in the park. And remember, here you don't just learn to survive. You learn what it means to fight for every breath you take. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for a trip to sunny Turkey, specifically to the city of Diyarbakir, where you'll find one of the harshest places you wouldn't even want to see from the safety of a hotel balcony, Diyarbakir Prison. Here, the word hell becomes reality, complete with all the comforts of medieval conditions. Diyarbakir is the kind of place where you start praying the moment you step in, even if you're an atheist. This prison is notorious for its brutal conditions and even more brutal staff. Inmates here experience personal development a little differently. Instead of wellness retreats, you get special training in survival. Darkness, cold, and dampness are your constant roommates, and the screams from the next cells provide the entertainment. Punishments in Diyarbakir? Oh, they savor every one of your infractions. If you think escape is the solution, get ready for a tour of all the darkest corners of the prison. There's no such thing as a mild reprimand here. Expect physical punishments that will knock the soul out of your body and any rebellious thoughts out of your head. Solitary confinement isn't a place for self-reflection. It's more like an intense experience of your own suffering. And the worst punishments? Just when you think it couldn't get worse, Diyarbakir quickly proves you wrong. They have fun activities like water torture, electric shocks, and if that doesn't do the trick, they bring out methods that would put even the scariest horror movies to shame. And don't worry, they'll enjoy every last detail of your misery. Escapes? Forget it. In Diyarbakir, they guard you like treasure, though not the kind anyone would want. High walls, guard towers, and watchful guards who have nothing better to do than beat the last hope of freedom out of you. Inmates here are more likely to hope they survive another day, rather than attempt to navigate the maze of guard posts. To make matters worse, Diyarbakir Prison is known for its political prisoners, who have spent decades here simply for having a different opinion than the accepted one. Uprisings are welcomed with such enthusiasm that at the first sign, they'll show you what order means by Diyarbakir's rules. So why is Diyarbakir in fourth place? Because if you love places with a touch of history, where torture chambers are part of the experience, and if you enjoy the idea that every minute could be your last, then you found your Mecca. But if you prefer vacations with at least a minimum of comfort, you might want to choose another corner of the world. So, welcome to Diyarbakir Prison, where every day is a test of your courage, sanity, and physical endurance. And remember, you don't leave here with a smile, but with the knowledge that survival means enduring everything you can or can't imagine. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're heading south to beautiful Argentina, specifically to Mendoza Prison, a place you definitely wouldn't add to your tourist list. This place is anything but a pleasant Argentinian experience. Forget about tango, steak, and Malbec. In Mendoza, they play a different kind of tango, a tango for survival. Mendoza Prison is notorious for its inhumane overcrowding and conditions that would shame even the worst slums. Designed for about 600 inmates, today it holds over 2,000 people. And trust me, personal space here is just a distant dream. If you think your crowded public transport is annoying, imagine sharing your bed with 2 or 3 other inmates, all equally keen on surviving as you are. Punishments in Mendoza? Well, let's just say they teach you what order means. If you thought sitting in your own mess was just a figure of speech, Mendoza takes it literally. Hygiene facilities are scarce, and water is as precious as a football victory. If you're one of the brave ones who decides to ignore the rules, expect beatings, torture, or several weeks in solitary confinement, where your best company will be the cockroaches and your own disillusionment. The worst punishments? Complaints aren't taken lightly in Mendoza. Inmates who dare to complain or rebel can look forward to a special treatment, starvation, and even stricter solitary confinement. In solitary, windows are just a dream, and beds? Forget about it. Expect no bed, just the cold, hard ground welcoming you with its unforgiving embrace. Escapes? In Mendoza, naivety won't help you even if you had $1 million. Escape attempts are more than common, but success is almost zero. If you manage to get out of the overcrowded cells, you'll face walls and guards who know that every day is just another chance to show who's really in charge. Inmates have more faith in surviving a day without a beating than in escaping to freedom. And what about entertainment? Well, in Mendoza, daily survival is the main activity. Conflicts are common, gang fights are routine, and sometimes you have to fight just to get your piece of bread. If you thought you'd get some rest here, prepare yourself for a completely different reality. So why did Mendoza Prison make it to the 3rd spot? Because if you love living on the edge, where every day could be your last and every decision could turn into a fight for survival, you're in the right place. But if you prefer a place with at least a little chance for dignity and privacy, we suggest looking elsewhere for accommodation. Welcome to Mendoza Prison, where every day is like a hard lesson in survival, and where even the smallest mistake could mean that for dinner, you get a hefty serving of reality, with no side dish. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for a journey into the heart of the Syrian desert, where lies a place that would send even nightmares on vacation, Tadmore Prison. If you think the heat is the worst thing the desert can throw at you, Tadmore will quickly prove you wrong. This prison has a reputation that would scare even the toughest criminal. Tadmore Prison is known as one of the most brutal and inhumane prisons in the world. Located in the middle of nowhere, far from any civilization, you can be sure that no one will hear you scream. This complex was originally built as a military base, but quickly transformed into a place where people disappear without a trace. Here, you're not just trying to survive the day, you're trying to survive hour by hour, while the guards watch you like vultures waiting for their next prey. Punishments in Tadmore? Forget solitary confinement or restricted visits. Here they go straight to the point. The guards use methods that would make you reconsider all your life choices. Beatings are routine, and if you think it can't get any worse, they'll welcome you with special treatment, such as electric torture or being hung upside down. And if that's not enough, they find creative ways to break you, like forcing you into continuous movement or making you stand in one place for hours without rest. The worst punishments? Tadmore is infamous for mass executions, which are more than just punishment. They're a warning to all others. The legendary June massacre of 1980 saw hundreds of prisoners killed in one night in retaliation for an assassination attempt on the president. In Tadmore, punishments aren't carried out in private. They're public, so other inmates can watch and understand that there is no way out. Escapes? With the desert and high walls surrounding the prison, escape is nothing more than a distant dream. The prison is surrounded by minefields and guards armed with machine guns whose sole job is to ensure that no one gets past their watch. Escapes from Tadmore Prison are rare, and most attempts end tragically. And what about entertainment? Tadmore offers nothing but torture and fear for its inmates. There are no libraries or TVs here. The daily routine is merely surviving and watching the guards, who constantly invent new ways to break the prisoners' spirits with a perpetual smile on their faces. So why did Tadmore earn the second spot? Because if you're looking for a place where even the air feels like another assault on your senses, and where every second spent without pain is a precious gift, Tadmore is your destination. But if you prefer even the illusion of humanity and glimpses of hope, you might want to look elsewhere to serve your time. Welcome to Tadmore Prison, where dreams dissolve faster than water in the desert, and where even the slightest hint of defiance ends up buried in the depths of oblivion. Here, you don't learn to live. You learn to endure everything life can throw at you, and then some. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to venture into the very heart of darkness, Camp 14, North Korea. This place tops our terrifying journey through the world's worst prisons, and it's not without reason. Camp 14 is synonymous with hell on earth, where even the darkest horror story feels like a bedtime tale. Camp 14, also known as Kwan Liso No. 14, is a political prison camp where punishment and suffering are passed down from generation to generation. Yes, you read that right. If you end up here, chances are your family will too, simply because they're related to you. It doesn't matter if you've done anything wrong. Just being in the wrong bloodline is enough. Punishments in Camp 14? There's no such thing as gentle reprimands here. Physical punishments, torture, and forced labor are part of the daily routine. Prisoners work in mines, fields, or construction from dawn till dusk, regardless of the weather or their health. If you can't keep up the pace or dare to complain, you're in for beatings, starvation, or worse, torture that includes everything from hanging by your limbs to electric shocks, the worst punishments. Camp 14 specializes in absolute dehumanization. Here, guards don't see you as a person, but as a means to an end. Starvation is a common part of life, and inmates are often forced to eat rats, insects, or whatever they can find just to survive. Daily executions are a public affair and serve as a stark warning to others: obedience or death. Escapes? There's no escaping Camp 14. Besides the high walls and guard towers, the camp is surrounded by electric fences and minefields. Anyone who tries to escape is immediately caught and executed, often right in front of other inmates, to remind them that the only way out is through death. Entertainment? Forget it. There's no room for relaxation or rest in Camp 14. The daily routine is filled with grueling labor and constant surveillance. Guards have free rein to invent punishments as they see fit, and any disobedience is met with immediate and brutal consequences. Why is Camp 14 in the first place? Because if there's a place where the word humanity becomes a joke, and where even the toughest individuals quickly realize they're playing a whole different game, it's right here. Camp 14 is a place where survival isn't just handed out. You survive despite everything and everyone, often as an empty shell of who you once were. Welcome to Camp 14, where hopes vanish faster than morning mist, and where mere survival is the greatest punishment of all. This isn't just a prison. It's a lesson in how far human cruelty can go, and how much a person can endure when there's nothing left to fight for. Here's how we've wrapped up our list of the worst prisons in the world. Places where the word hell becomes a daily reality. From brutal punishments and inhumane conditions to the absolute loss of hope, these prisons show just how far human cruelty can go. If you thought you were having a bad day, remember those who are fighting for survival in places where even the smallest mistake is literally a matter of life and death. Let's hope these stories remain just warnings and never become a reality that we have to experience ourselves.